Good evening, and once again, welcome to this series of lectures we've been having on rural urology. This is probably the last lecture of this series. We'll start with a small video which Keso has prepared, and then we'll go on to the slides. Keso, can you have the video, please? About 4,000 people live in and around Ladakh in Arunachal Pradesh. It took us 17 hours drive and 10 hours to walk to reach this place from the nearest town where surgical care is possible. During the diagnostic camps, we saw over 400 patients, and about 3% of them had urinary tract stones. Do you think it would be possible to treat these patients in such remote areas where there is no electricity? Yes is the answer now, thanks to this laptop cystoscope. All you need to do is to connect the scope to the laptop computer and start doing these diagnostic scopies or minor procedures. Gone are the days when you needed the expensive telescope, camera, light source, etc. for such procedures. The cost of the laptop cystoscope would be less than 1/20th of the traditional setup. If you're in a place with good internet connectivity, it is possible for experts to see your screen from a remote location and give you advice on what to do. The International Federation of Rural Surgeons and the Association of Rural Surgeons of India are collaborating to start a real-time online training program with university certification and accreditation. Few rural surgeons in Northeast India are already doing these minor procedures using the laptop cystoscope. Some urology and even some non-urology surgeries are possible with the laptop cystoscope. So in the video you saw how we were using the so-called laptop cystoscope. So today we're going to talk a little more detail about the scope and what are the things which are possible using this scope. If you're listening to the end, we are able to do some urology as well as non-urology procedures using this. The current one which he showed in the video is the third generation equipment that we have developed. And what you see in the slide is the second and third prototypes that we have made. Can you have the next slide, please? So what are the requirements for doing a small procedure like cystoscopy or minor procedures like DJ stenting? If it were not for this low cost or ultra low cost cystoscope that we have, you would need a cystoscope which consists of three things. One is a telescope, then the sheath, and a bridge. The cystoscope, the telescope, is the most expensive part of this. Even the least expensive Chinese scopes cost about 80,000 rupees. An average of good ones about 120,000 rupees. And the good ones from standard companies well over 300,000 rupees. But that's not it. Then you need the camera to connect to the monitor, then or a television set. Then you need the light source to power the telescope. And the entire set can range anywhere between 600,000 to double that amount. This is just for doing minor procedures like cystoscopies or DJ stenting and so on. So what this equipment does is that it remarkably brings down the investment. So right now it can be as little as much less than $1,000 for the entire set. And all you need is just to connect the scope directly to the laptop computer. And what are the uses that we have for this? If you had been attending the previous lectures, you would have realized that we had talked about a variety of conditions. We said that any outpatient department, you'd see about 5 to 6% urology patients. And all of them need to have a proper diagnosis and appropriate treatment based on the diagnosis. And one of the most common means of diagnosis that we use is what we call cystometrogram or bladder pressure studies. We had showed you how this urodynamic study, if it is done in a standard place or a big medical college, will need equipment which about 120,000 rupees. And we need to have a special equipment to do it. But then with just 2 infant feeding tubes and using the regular IV set as a manometer, we said we can do the cystometrogram or bladder pressure studies to make a precise diagnosis about a variety of conditions. So this combined with the cystoscopy or having a look inside the bladder would be able to give the diagnosis in almost all the urology patients, 90–95% of them. And then with minimal treatment, it is possible to treat all these. So almost half of them could be treated because a simple technique of DJ stenting would be able to help people who have stones which is less than 1.2 centimeter in size. The next slide. So the commonest thing, or one of the most important things we would like you to learn is how to do a double J stenting. So normally the ureter, which is the tube which connects from the kidney to the bladder, is a collapsed tube. And only the peristalsis makes it open and the urine starts coming out. And even though we say that most of the stones which are less than 6 millimeters in size would pass by themselves, the limiting factor is that the size of the ureter is small and it's a collapsed tube. So when you keep a stent inside, what it does is that it makes a ureter dilate to about 2 or 3 times the original size. And also it keeps it open all the time. So which helps the stones, the kidneys, even if they're up to about 1.2 to 1.5 centimeters, slowly come down the ureter and come out. And the movement which the stent causes as people walk around and move around also aids in this process of the body trying to push the stone out. And then sometimes we find that patients go to bigger centers, urology centers, to have the larger stones removed. And they come with a double J stent. Then it'll take a lot of effort for them to go back to that center and have the surgery again to remove the stent. And as you noticed in that previous video, DJ stenting is a 2-minute procedure if we have this cystoscope. All you need to just go into the bladder under local anesthesia, catch the stent and pull it out. So this is the most important thing. The cystometrogram and DJ stenting are the 2 skills. If anybody is able to learn these 2 skills, can treat 3% of the outpatient that you have in any remote area. And if you start doing it regularly, the number will obviously increase. Next slide. Okay. Another important use of the scope is that if you have blood clots in the bladder, it is an emergency. It causes severe pain. And it can even lead to mortality if it's not treated. It causes significant morbidity and mortality. And sometimes very small areas or small bleed can become a very significant or large one if it is not treated properly. See, what happens is that in prostate and bladder and all that, most of the bleeding is venous. Say, or sometimes small TCC can be the small tumor which can bleed. And these bleeding is a venous bleed, which when the bladder collapses, it blocks the veins which are bleeding and stops the bleed. But if there is blood clots, what it does is that it prevents the bladder from collapsing. And the bleeding continues. In fact, it keeps increasing because as the bladder distance. So the most important thing when there is a bleed in the bladder is to empty the bladder. But then it is not possible to empty the bladder unless you have the necessary equipment and expertise. So bladder wash, we just put a catheter and wash, it may not be very effective. Because once you try negative pressure, the catheter will collapse and prevent the blood clot from coming. So you need a metal catheter. So this scope will help you to introduce into the bladder and division. And then you can use any of these small, Ehrlich evacuator, or if you don't have an evacuator, just ordinary syringe to wash and empty the bladder. And once the bladder is empty, as I said, the bladder wall collapses and the muscles will prevent further bleeding. Then you can put a 3-way catheter to maintain the bladder without further bleed or blood clot collecting there. So this is one of the most important emergency treatment methods we have. Next one. Okay, so then sometimes if we're able to detect the bladder tumors early, because TCC or transcriptional carcinoma of the bladder is a condition which is, occurs in multiple sites. And sometimes when they detect it, it may be a very large one and you need a urologist to have a treatment. But then after that, because it's in multiple sites, the small areas will slowly enlarge and become large. So we would like the patient to have what is called a check cystoscopy once a month till 3 negative scopies are there, which means that you need to do a cystoscopy every month and look for areas of small recurrence. And these areas, when they are small, all you have to do is, in the top right, you see what is called a Bugbee electrode. It's a small electrode with which you can just touch and pass a small electric current, which will destroy the tumor. So this, if you're able to detect early, you can manage the treatment yourself. You don't have to send the patient to a urology center. And it's a very simple procedure. Only difference is that you need to use glycine or distilled water instead of the normal saline when you're using the Bugbee electrode and electrocautery. Next one. Okay. So this, you might think, I don't know why we are putting big surgery as a BPH for a rural surgeon to tackle. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching people demonstrate laser prostatectomy. And of course, laser is a very hi-fi technology. You need very, very expensive equipment and you need special goggles and all sorts of things. But the procedure is exactly similar to what would happen if you're able to use a Bugbee electrode and vaporize the prostate tissue. Of course, just like how Bugbee electrode will take a long time to remove the prostate, laser also takes almost similar time. In fact, even when the experts are doing it and demonstrating it, it took almost 3.5 to 4 hours for them to remove a small prostate with laser. And if you're using a large cutting current in the Bugbee electrode, you'll be able to achieve the same thing. But you don't have to do all that. If the patient has retention, all you need to do is to make a small passage for the urine to come out comfortably. So with the prostate, what happens is that if there is sudden inflammation, infarction, or bleed into the prostate, it enlarges and causes a total block. So at that time, all you need to do is to remove whatever enlargement is there. whatever is causing a little bit of block, if you remove that using this Bugbee electrode and this cystoscope, the patient will be able to avoid. And if necessary, you can do it at several settings, little by little. Or if you have the expertise, you can do it at one go to remove the prostate if it is smaller. So even such things are possible. So in emergency, if there is a significant blood clot, you can do a wash. If there's a retention, you can actually use the Bugbee electrode to vaporize a bit of the prostate and make a passage. And DG stenting is an important step that you need to learn, the skill you need to learn. Next slide. Okay. This is another interesting thing. This is a picture you'll see if there is a ureteral stricture. So normally we use special equipment and cord line to cut open the stricture. But then it may be possible again to use the cystoscope and the Bugbee electrode. You see on dark circle here. I don't know whether you're able to see the pointer here, but that is the place which you can just gently burn and widen the passage so that the patient is able to pass urine. And then once they start passing urine, the retention will be relieved. And also the passage also widens a little bit. And then you can slowly pass an infant feeding tube and progressively larger sizes of the Foley's catheter to enlarge this passage. And this will give sufficient time for the patient to go to a urologist to have the regular endoscopic urethrotomy done. So these are things which you can use in emergency, and the patient will be very, very happy because you're able to give them treatment at a time when the patient has very severe pain. Next slide. Okay, so this is another procedure which you can do if you don't have all the expensive urology setup to break the bladder stones. So what you need to do is you introduce a scope inside the bladder and fill the bladder. And you can also with the scope, you can visualize or see where the stone is. Then you can make a small incision, which is muscle splitting in the lower abdomen. And use a 10 mm or 12 mm trocar, what you use in laparoscopic surgery, and push it inside the bladder. So now through that, you can pass the specimen retriever, and you can take the stone out and pull the whole thing and close. So this is a very minimally invasive procedure because you need just enough incision and the size, almost at the size of the stone or even lesser because the muscle stretch. And it's almost 2 centimeter or 3 centimeter incision, you will be able to remove a large bladder stone without much of a problem. All you need is the cystoscope and the 10 mm or 12 mm port for this, and a specimen retriever that we use in laparoscopic surgery. The next one. Okay. So this is another thing that is possible, is to do a diagnostic laparoscopy. Again, you can use the same scope, but the important thing to note here is that unlike the regular telescope, where the light source is what we call a cold light source, because it's not hot at the tip. Here, in urology, it doesn't matter because you have a fluid which is irrigated. The irrigation fluid that we use cools down the tip. But if you're doing it for laparoscopy, you should be careful not to touch the intestines or any of the important structures with the tip of the scope, because that will be hot, because the light source is there in the tip of the camera, and that produces a little bit of heat. But otherwise, they'll help you to do the diagnosis, and also you can take biopsies through the scope that we have. Next one. Okay, so this is another thing which we talked about earlier. If you're doing an interval appendicectomy, when the patient does not have acute inflammation, what you can do is you can make a small incision in the McBurney's point and then pass the scope. And you'll be able to visualize the appendix or the mesoappendix. You can catch it and pull it out of the wound. Then you can do appendicectomy and then push it in, and you can manage the appendicectomy with a very small incision. Next one. Okay, so this is another thing which many of the rural surgeons have used, which makes tubectomies easy. So here again, what you can do is you can visualize the tubes, and it's a very short surgery. So this is one of the good surgeries to practice, because immediately after delivery, most of the time the abdominal wall is very lax. So it's easy to make a small incision, lift the abdominal wall, and use this scope to visualize the tubes. You can pull it out of the incision, and then you can tie it, or you can cauterize it, whatever method you want or you're happy to do, you can do, and do the tubal ligation. And this will help you sort of improve the skills and then go on to bigger and better surgical procedures. Next one. Okay, I think you can stop with that. We also use the scope for other things like removing foreign bodies in the esophagus. But I would suggest you should not do such things till you have enough understanding of the anatomy and the instruments, because if you don't know what you're doing, you can cause more damage. Next one. This is just for the completion we are doing. Another important use is that when you're doing open surgeries, say anytime you incise a kidney, the chances of bleeding is very high. Not just during the surgery. You might be able to recognize a bleed and suture and control it at the time of surgery. But then 2 weeks later, you might find that the patient has a very significant bleed, and the patient can die also because of this secondary infection and secondary bleed. So as far as possible, it is not, it is better not to touch the kidney. And everything possible should be done through the renal pelvis. But unfortunately, only half the patients will have a sufficiently large extrarenal pelvis, and many of them have intrarenal pelvis. So which means that even if you do Gilvernon's dissection and expose as much of the pelvis as possible, still you may not be able to remove the entire stone without in one piece. So you'll have to break the stones. So once you break the stone, it sort of disappears into the various calyces. So here, then we can use the scope to visualize, and then you can use a grasper to hold the stone and pull it out. So it might take a little longer time. You might have to wash a little more of the kidney and so on. But then it will help you to be on the safe side, because as long as you don't open the kidney, the bleeding is much, much less. You need to realize that almost 25% of the output from the heart goes to the kidneys. So any incision there is bound to bleed quite significantly. So it is better to do everything through the renal pelvis. So this is one important news if you're doing open surgeries for kidney stones. Next one. Okay, so this is another use, we said, what is called cholecystoscopy. So sometimes what happens is that you open for a gallbladder disease, for cholecystectomy, but then you find the patient has the gallbladder which is full of pus, or the calots is absolutely so difficult to dissect. You don't want to take any risk in dissecting the calots triangle. Then the simple thing to do is to put in a drain through the gallbladder. So what we do is we use the SPC trocar and cannula and put a Foley's catheter to drain the gallbladder. And then this comes out, and once you drain the gallbladder, the inflammation, infection, everything settles down quite quickly. Maybe within a couple of weeks, the whole thing will settle down. And sometimes what happens is that patients don't want to have any further treatment. Ideally, because the gallbladder is diseased, and that is the reason you started having gallstones, you need to complete the surgery and remove the gallbladder. But if the patient doesn't want it, or if you want to, the whole thing to settle down earlier, once there is a good track which forms within about 6 weeks or 1 month, you can remove the Foley's catheter and do a scopy through the track. Then you can remove the stone, you can break and remove the stone, you can wash out the debris, you can clean the gallbladder and put the Foley's catheter back. But sometimes what happens is that some patients who don't want surgery at all, this is sufficient, many of the patients, but this is not advised to leave like that. But it is one possible way of treating it. Next one. Okay, then you might be wondering, if there are so much advantages, are there any disadvantages to this scope? This scope, what we are seeing here is the first generation one. And can you go back to the first slide? And the first slide will show the second and third generation scopes that we have made. So what is the disadvantage of these scopes? Here what we have done is, we replaced the telescope with the endoscopic camera. So this dramatically reduces the cost, because as I said earlier, the telescope is the most expensive part of this entire system. And it has many rod lens, and it's quite a complicated thing to produce. But the advantage of the telescope is that it's a cold light source. It transmits lights and pictures. It transmits the lights from the light source into the bladder, and the pictures from the bladder into the eyepiece. And there's no heat transfer here. So, but with the endoscopic camera, the light is right at the tip of the camera. So that produces heat. It is not a big problem in urology, because as we mentioned earlier, we have a fluid which is irrigating and washing away. So this will remove the heat. So it's not a major problem if you're doing a cystoscopy or DJ stenting, any of those procedures, as long as you have this irrigating fluid which is there. But if you're using it for diagnostic laparoscopy or any other procedure, appendicectomy and so on, you should not do it for a long time, because you should understand that there is sufficient heat, and this heat can destroy tissues. And the other problem is that most of the scopes that we use are 30-degree scope. In other words, it'll look down. It's bent about 30 degrees, so the vision is downwards. Here it is 0 degrees, so you have to look straight. But looking straight is good for urethra, because we have there any strictures and other problems. It's easier to look straight. But in the bladder, what happens is that most of the bladder is under the trigone, and the posterior aspect of the bladder is sort of straight. So it might be, it's easier to do with the 30 degrees to view down. But here you'll have to move in such a way that you need to look at the 0 degrees telescope. We are trying to see if they have any 30 degrees camera, or whether we can rotate the camera a little bit and fix it. But right now that is not possible. We'll have only a 0 degree camera and 0 degrees vision. And another problem is that these are all autofocus cameras. So it takes a little while for the mechanism to focus and give sharper images. So you need to be fairly gentle to do these procedures. So you need to slowly do the scopy and the stenting and other thing. But it's not a major problem because anyway, it's good to be gentle when you're doing all these procedures. Now I think Keso will show you the scope and okay, then we can go back later. You can show the scope, Keso.
Thank you, sir. So, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear.
So this is what the scope looks like now. I hope it's clear. And this is the tip. If you can see, this is where the camera is. And we have a single locking mechanism here. This is for your instruments or disposables to go through. And it now has a 5-meter cable, which gives you enough length in case for sterilization. You can put maybe 1 meter or even more for sterilization. It does not matter. And at the other end, we have USB 2 attachment, the standard USB attachment, and you can fold it back and reveal a micro USB connection. This micro USB will attach your cystoscope to even any Android phone or any smartphone. And for C-type phones, we have another C-type adapter here. I hope it's clear. So you just need to insert this into this, and then it's ready to be used. So for C-types, you need the adapter. I'll just plug it in and we can have a quick demo.
In other words, Keso, what you're saying is that you can connect to any standard laptop which has a USB port. And the older generation cell phones which has the smaller insert.
The micro USB, yes.
Micro USB, whatever it is. And the current generation Android phones which have a C-type connection.
C-type, yeah. And one thing I forgot to mention is we have the brightness controller here. So it has a small dial on the side. If you can see this part, this is the dial. So you just turn it and you can increase or decrease the amount of light.
See, one thing you need to remember about the brightness is that if you're further away from the target or place we want to see, you increase the brightness. But as you go closer to the tissues, you need to reduce the brightness, because if you have very bright light and very close to the tissue, then quite a lot of it is reflected. You won't see very clear pictures. So you need to reduce the light when you go closer. Maybe Keso can demonstrate that when you're showing it. So when you're showing in the hand, they can, when you go closer, you reduce the light and show. Okay, go ahead, Keso.
So what you can see now is the feed. This is a scope, the feed from the scope. I'm just going to put it inside my hand, and the lights are off now. So I'm just going to increase the light to maybe about 50%. So the lower the light, the more you'll have a grainy footage, a grainy video. So you need to find the right balance for your. Now I'm increasing it. This is at about 100%, and I'll just reduce it to maybe about 80. So this is.
How far away are you from the tip of the camera and?
So just a second.
How many centimeters maybe?
Can you see my cursor? So this is my thumb.
Yeah.
This is my thumb.
So your thumb is how far away from the camera now?
So my thumb is now about 5 centimeters away.
Okay.
So I'm just going closer.
So about
Yeah.
5 centimeters, you can have the maximum brightness, or 80–90% of the brightness.
Yeah, it would depend on your. So now I'm at about 3 centimeters from the thumb. This is my thumb. And if
So
you
if
go
you
closer,
notice, about 2 to 3 centimeters is the ideal distance for very clear vision. So if you're seeing any lesion like a TCC bladder, or you want to have a closer look, then it's better to keep that about 2 to 3 centimeters away from the tip of the camera.
so I'm now at about less than 2 centimeters from my thumb.
Yeah.
So you can see that the image sharpness has gone down a little bit. The contours are smoother now. There's less sharpness. I'm going to go further away. So now I'm at about 2.5 centimeters away. This is where you start getting very good sharp images. Now
Go very close and start reducing the light to show them the effect.
So now I'm at about
This is
1
just
centimeter.
go closer without reducing the light. Go closer. See, now you can see, at least in the left half of the picture, a lot of reflected light. See, if you have a bright light, then there's a lot of reflection. You won't be able to see the picture clearly. Now reduce the light. The clarity will improve as you reduce light. So this is one thing you need to learn. With experience, you'll learn when to reduce the light, when to increase the light. The idea is to have the optimum or best possible vision.
So I'm at about now 15–20%. And I'm less than, I'm about 5 mm away from the thumb. So I'm now moving away. This is about 1 centimeter.
Yeah.
This is about 2 centimeter. And here now we are about maybe 3 centimeter. But we are still at 15%, about 15% brightness. I'll increase it to about maybe 50%. So you can see how the image is changing. Another thing is color representation may take some time. If you increase or decrease, it may change. That's one thing you have to keep in mind.
Does it have any white balance? Or?
No, sir, we don't have a white balance as yet. So now I'm at about 5 centimeters again. So the thing is, we need gentle movements. If I make it a bit fast, you can see how the picture is getting blurred, number one, and how, number two, how the image representation also changes. You need to be gentle with your movements.
And how far can you move away and see how far can you see? 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, what is the maximum?
So now this is about 10 centimeters from the thumb.
Okay. So normally you will not need more than 10 centimeters, because even if you distance the bladder almost to the full, if it is up to the umbilicus, still it won't be more than 10 centimeters.
Yeah, we are at about 7 centimeters approximately.
So the best picture quality is about 2 to 6 or 7 centimeters.
Yeah, that's right, sir. I think we can safely say 2 to 7 centimeters.
And what about the software for the pictures, or is it all, it'll be there in most of the laptops, or do you have to download and install anything?
It's a very small file. It's hardly about less than 10 MB.
No.
So downloading it is not a problem. If anybody wants to have the cystoscope, then we can include.
And what about recording? Does it have facilities for recording
Yeah.
in the
So if you can see my screen, you can take a photo, you can take still photos, you can record video, and you have the settings over here. So you can change the settings. It's called Super Eyes. This is the name of the device. And then for the video format, there's a range of formats here. I prefer to use the default and not get stuck with other things. The recording method is AVI, which is one of the common recording interfaces. And the other things, maybe you don't need to. You can even specify the path where you would like to save your videos, photos and videos. So yeah, I think that's just about it. So.
Okay. And if you want to sort of connect to Zoom, how will they do it? The screen.
You would do it exactly what I'm doing now. So what I've done is you can see over here my I'll just stop the share and share my entire screen. So if you can see my desktop. So what I will do is I go to my Zoom. This is my Zoom. I will say share, and I just need to share either my screen or smart camera. Is it visible? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can screen, but it's black.
Okay. So it's very easy. Anybody who's using Zoom, I think you should be knowing how to share your screen. So you just share your screen.
And now we can see.
Yeah, so I'm just sharing my screen now, so you just need to be able to do that. You can either choose to share just your screen, or you can choose to share only the software that
that software, can you make it full screen? But now we see only in...
you can just double click. Yeah. Just need to double click.
Okay.
So now we are at full screen.
Okay, yeah, now I can see. Okay, now to summarize it, what you said is that it's a very simple device to use. You either have if you have a laptop computer, you have a USB port which you need to connect to the laptop. Or if you have a regular older generation Android port, you remove part of that USB connector, and there's a smaller connector which is inside, which you need to use for the regular cell phone. Or C-type connector if you have a modern cell phone. So then you see the pictures. So if you want to share your pictures, all you need to do is just you can either share screen from your cell phone or laptop, or the software screen of the software which you install for viewing in the pictures. And also you can take snapshots of these pictures. Say if you have any disease, if there is a lesion in the TCC in the bladder, you can just take a picture of that. Or if you want to record the entire procedure, that is also possible in the same software that is given along with the endoscopic camera. And ideal distance to use is about 2 to 7 centimeters from the lesion. And if you're doing for urology, you don't have to worry about the heat which is generated at the tip. But if you're using it for any other lesions or like for diagnostic laparoscopy or in the abdomen, you need to be aware of the heat and not touch anything, any of the bowel or any of those things, because the heat can cause perforation. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think that's just about it.
Okay. And so summarizing, this is a really low cost cystoscope which can be used anywhere. You don't need any extra power or anything. As long as your laptop has enough charge, you can take a laptop computer. What about regular computers? Can you use it? Or smart TVs, can you use it?
Can you,
If they want a big
not on
screen.
TVs, but
Okay,
no,
so,
this is meant as a USB plug and play. One thing I forgot to mention is for the Android phones, there's an app which comes with the cystoscope. So you just have to copy that onto your cell phone and then you can load it. It's very easy to use.
no, because nowadays they can play YouTube and other things in the smart TVs. Maybe you can explore and find out if that is possible.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah.
Then if you have a smart TV, then you'll have a much bigger screen. But then laptop screen, since the wire length is about 5 meters, it's quite convenient to use it. And is it waterproof? Can you put the entire thing in Sidex for sterilizing?
It is waterproof. So.
Okay, so we can put the scope and sufficient length of wire inside the Sidex to sterilize it. And it's waterproof, so it's not a big deal. And you can use it for diagnosing most of the urology condition that we'll be seeing in an outpatient. You can diagnose strictures, you can diagnose stones, and you can use it for minor procedures. Any question, Dr. Sally, or anybody else?
I've sent my question to you. I've sent my question to you.
Ah,
Yes.
you sent a question.
Yes. Did you say it could cause perforation if it is very close to intestine?
What is that? I didn't.
The tip of the scope, if it is close to, that it could cause perforation.
Ah.
Okay.
See, if you go, I mean, even with the normal telescope also, you cannot go too close to the area that you're visualizing because the light is there and too much of the light will get reflected back. So normally when as you keep going closer, you need to reduce the light. And you need to wait for a little while for the camera to focus. Normal telescope, there's no focusing required. It's like normal vision, so it's real time. Here, because it's a camera, it's an autofocus camera, it takes a few seconds to focus. So if you're going near a lesion, more than 1 centimeter close to the thing, probably you might have to do it if you're trying to do a DJ stenting. So that time you go closer and reduce the intensity of the light a little bit. Then you'll be able to see it clearly. Normally you don't, I mean, see, usually you have to stay more than 1 centimeter away from the ureteric orifice to put in the guide wire or a stent or those sort of things.
It's all right. Thank you.
Actually, the Association of Rural Surgeons of India and the International Federation of Rural Surgeons. So one is Indian association and the other one is international association. Both are joined together and we have formed what is called a Rural Surgery Research and Training Center in one of the hospitals in Jharkhand. And through this, we have devised this course for gastric surgeries and rural urology and spinal anesthesia and so on. And we have these courses accredited to the Martin Luther University in Shillong. So this center is accredited to the university. So once you finish this course, you'll get a certification from the university. The university will arrange for an examination and a credentialing program. And once you're found to be capable of doing all these procedures on your own, then they will give them, you will get a certification. So this process is already started. And the advantage of this rural urology certificate course is that the whole thing can be done online and real time. So you can have smaller groups. So now this series of Zoom lectures will be complete. So hereafter we'll have only lectures in smaller groups, 3 or 4 people, where you can ask questions, clear your doubts, and we can also make sure that they are understood, because we'll ask you to repeat, and we'll ask questions and so on. So we make sure that you understand. And the other thing is that for 1 year after you register, you can also have consultation for the patient that you see, so that we can describe the symptoms or whatever the patient has, and we can give the suggestions. Or if you're doing a cystometrogram or a cystoscopy, we can also have a look at the finding and make you understand what are the things you need to learn. So the entire course is online. And at the end of it, not the people who are teaching you, third party, some other people will come and do an examination to find out how much you know, whether you're worthy to receive the certification, after which you'll receive the certificate from Martin Luther University. And maybe Keshav will tell you the details about the cost involved and the payment method and so on.
Thank you, sir. So we have 3 components for the course, and the first component is for the lectures, the consultations, and also the supervision of procedures within the 1 year for $200. And for the certification, the enrollment, the examination, credentialing, that will cost another $300. And for the laptop cystoscope, we have now brought it $1,000. So this would probably, we'll try to include the freight charges within this $1,000. And the banking details are here on the screen on the left. And on the right, you have my email ID. So if anybody is making payments in, I would request you to please send me the payment details at my email given on the right side, so that we can issue your receipts as well as keep track of whatever payments are coming in. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, then we come to almost the end of this series of lectures we have had in rural urology and gasless laparoscopic surgery. You're welcome to write to us anytime or any clarifications you need. And also, if you're interested in the courses, you can write to Mr. Keshav, and he'll send you the details. And we can continue with the smaller groups and more discussions, and we'll have probably be with help to the rural patients. I think Keshav will send you the email address and various other details.
My email address is in the chat section, so you can please feel free to copy it and go right in. Thank you very much.
Thanks once again for joining.
Thank you very much. Thank you.